I bet you didn't know about Colleen Stan, also known as the girl in the box. In May 1977, Colleen decided to hitchhike from California to Oregon to see a friend. She was picked up by a couple that she assumed seemed safe. I mean, they had a baby in the car with them. But once she was in the vehicle, the man named Cameron attacked her and forced a handmade contraption on her head. It was a head box. The box weighed 20 pounds, and Colleen said it plunged her into a world of heavy, hot darkness. Colleen was kept prisoner for 7 years. The man Cameron regularly beat her and assaulted her. He would hang her from a torture rack during the beatings. She was forced to spend days in a coffin-like box, sometimes while still even wearing the head box. Cameron even forced her to sign a contract saying that she was his slave. Colleen was sometimes able to move about during her entrapment. For example, she babysat children and was introduced to the neighbors as a live-in nanny. Cameron even took Colleen to see her own family one night. He pretended to be her boyfriend. Not once during this visit did Colleen try to escape. Cameron had completely convinced Colleen they had the backing of the company, and they would go after her family and loved ones if she disobeyed. But after 7 years of brutally being tortured in every single way possible, she was let go. Janice, Cameron's wife, had a change of conscience one day. She confided in her minister about what she had been doing with her husband for years, and she just let Colleen go. She told Colleen that the whole company thing was a lie, and even took her to the bus station. Janice begged Colleen not to go to the police, claiming she could rehabilitate her husband Cameron. Colleen didn't have to, though. Janice ended up going to authority and turned herself and Cameron in. Cameron was hit with a monstrous amount of charges, as he should have been. This gained massive media attention, and Colleen said this made everything so much harder for her, where she almost wished the police weren't involved. She was criticized for not leaving when she had the chance. Cameron was trying to convince the court that she could have left at any time. He wasn't holding her captive. Surprisingly enough, his wife Janice testified against him, but she got immunity in exchange. Colleen was okay with this. It was Cameron who had brutally tortured her. Colleen said the trial itself was horrific, having to relive everything she went through. All the pictures of the horrific instruments of torture Cameron used on her. But when it was finally over and done, Cameron Hooker was sentenced to 104 years in prison without the possibility of parole. I bet you didn't know about this crazy discovery in Spain. The Spanish Civil Guard is currently doing an investigation on a private taxidermy collection, which has over 1,000 animals, including some that are protected or even near extinction. Species of cheetahs and leopards, polar bears and rhinoceroses, even the Savannah oryx, which was declared extinct in the wild in 2000, the nearly extinct Bengal tiger, and an addax, which is also almost extinct. There were also about 200 ivory elephant tusks. This collection is estimated to be around $31 million, and they're kept in 2 separate warehouses, collectively being 50,000 square feet. Now they're currently investigating that there's any documentation that justifies having these taxidermied animals. My question is, why would one person have this many? What were they planning on doing with them? Were they just an avid collector? But they were just sitting in 2 warehouses. I don't know what could be the reasoning behind this. I bet you didn't know that I have a new podcast out. This one's pretty gut-wrenching. I go into major detail of what happened at Columbine High School, April 20th, 1999. Viewers' discretion is advised, or listeners' discretion. It's not for the faint of heart. You can listen to it on my YouTube, which is Jamie13 Horror, just like it is here on TikTok. You can also listen to it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and other podcast streaming services, which is also under the name Jamie13 Horror. It's way too graphic for me to go into detail on TikTok. So if you want to hear for yourself, check out my podcast. I bet you didn't know about Anatoly Moskvin. and his very bizarre collection. This video suggestion came from BK2Slow. They sent me a tip and then what they wanted me to do a TikTok on. I'll explain how you can do that too at the end of this TikTok. Moskvin was a brilliant man who loved history. He spoke 13 different languages. He had many travels, taught at a college level, and was a journalist. But that's not all. He claimed he was a cemetery expert, and he spent much of his time there. Now that doesn't seem so bad, except when clues led police to his apartment where he lived with his parents. And they made a very interesting discovery. The mummified bodies of 29 girls. At first, police thought they were dolls, but with closer inspection, they were mummified girls, where he had dug them up from the graveyard and brought them home with him. They were all aged from 3 to 25. Moskvin blames his obsession on something that happened in 1979 when he was 13 years old. He was forced to kiss a young girl at her funeral. He kissed her once, and then over and over and over again. Supposedly, the dead girl's mother took a wedding ring and placed it on her deceased daughter's hand, and another on Moskvin's hand. He said he was married to this corpse. Now, no one knows if this story is actually true. Since then, he became obsessed with the dead. From 2005 to 2007, Moskvin claims to have visited 752 different cemeteries. He even said one night he slept in a casket in the cemetery, the night before it was used for a funeral. Upon further investigation of these mummified bodies, it turns out he had put music boxes in most of their chests, so when moved, they played music. He told the parents of the girls' bodies he took, "You abandoned your girls. I brought them home and warmed them up." He wasn't imprisoned. He was instead put in a psychiatric ward, which he hasn't been released, because he told them, "Don't bury the girls too deep. I'll just unbury them when I get out." Do you have a specific subject or story you'd like me to tell on my TikTok? Then head over to my TikTok page and leave a tip if it's available. You can also use my Venmo and Cash App, which is also posted in my bio and right here. Just make sure to include in the note your username. I'll follow you back and send you a message. And you can tell me what you would like for me to do a TikTok on. I bet you didn't know about the tragic accident that killed a young, aspiring composer and what the Queensland Symphony Orchestra decided to do. Kyan Pennell was a brilliant 12-year-old. He was a classical music enthusiast. He taught himself from watching YouTube videos. But tragically, while helping his father with chores, Kyan was in a freak accident where he was wedged between a trailer and a gate. Unfortunately, this accident was fatal. After his passing, his mother made a discovery. Kyan had started writing his own music. His mother didn't even know he knew how to compose music. His mother was quoted saying, "The thing that has given us a little part of Kyan to hold on to is when I found this composition he had been working on. I didn't realize he knew how to write music." His mother posted a picture of his music piece on social media. The heartbreaking post was seen by so many musicians. It has been seen all around the world. Many of them recorded tributes to Kyan. But possibly the most incredible, the Queensland Symphony Orchestra recorded the piece that Kyan composed so it could be played at his funeral. The organization's principal cellist said, "Sometimes music just talks to you." And I started playing it actually slow. And it sounded just beautiful and pure and nice and simple. I think what a beautiful tribute this orchestra has done. Not to mention all the musicians out there who had done the same. It's truly tragic what happened to young Kyan, and my heart goes out to his family.